Hello and welcome. It's Howard from WeHab, and today I'm here with Jess, fantastic lady I work with, who's going to be coming up to 10 years clean, 10 years sober next Thursday, which is a fantastic achievement. And today we're going to talk about some mental health, nothing scripted. We don't know what the heck we're going to talk about yet. Jess has already asked if she can swear. You can swear, Jess.
Yes.
You're an adult.
Thank
yes.
God.
So, is there anything you would like to talk about?
Anything in particular? No, not really. I had a few ideas bobbling around in my head about not particularly like a clinical thing about mental health, but just kind of the relationships we have with ourselves. Because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've been thinking about doing a Vipassana for like 10 days.
Which, for the people that don't know, is a silent retreat.
Yeah.
Is it where, so you're in complete silence, you don't talk. Is it a completely non-communication one? So you don't look in people's eyes, you don't make bodily contact?
I haven't picked one yet.
Word.
I haven't picked one, but I'm terrified of doing it. And I have this really bad habit of being like, all right, if I'm trying to achieve this goal, I'm just going to send it. And I'm just going to like try and be the best at the most advanced level of something.
All or nothing?
Yeah. And then I fail.
It sounds like something an addict would do.
No. I'm not one of those.
But you know what? If you fail at that, one saying I love is, if you aim low, the danger is you might hit.
Yeah.
If you aim high and you miss, you can still do pretty well.
Yeah. So that's the relationship with yourself thing, and kind of like there's so many different angles, but so I was thinking about doing this Vipassana and I'm like horrified of doing it because like 10 days in silence sounds scary, right? Which then begs the question of like, should we be able to spend 10 days with ourselves in silence? Like shouldn't be something that I'm afraid of, but I think everyone is afraid
abnormal. It's not normal. We're a pack animal. We're a tribe animal. So it isn't a normal thing for us to do evolution-wise, psychology, physiologically, socially. I don't know the word for that yet. I'm making words up on the fly here. So I don't think it's a normal thing to do. Having said that, I think there's value in some of these things. There is value in the doing. I would say you do know they do 3-day ones as well.
Yeah, but you have to do the 10-day one first.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So they're making me be like this. They're making me be extreme. It's not even my fault at this point. But
have you tried just not talking for 3 days?
I feel like you're attacking me.
Please.
No, I mean, even that, like even if I was just to sit there for even a day to just be like, I'm going to hang out with my friends and I'm just not going to say anything, like just the idea of silence, but more so even if I was to think about just being alone with myself for like one day without any distractions, it's terrifying, right? Like in Bali, Nyepi, right? We have the silent day. And for those of you who don't know, which I'm assuming is most people, it's like the way you're supposed to practice it is like no phones, no reading, no distractions. It's a day completely of meditation. And the first time I figured out about Nyepi when I came to Bali, I was like,
what the hell?
Yeah, I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to go somewhere else. Like the idea terrified me horribly. So I've just been thinking about that. Like, why are we so... I think 10 days is a long time, so that makes sense to be nervous about that. But I think most people would kind of freak out at the idea of 2 days, which I think is actually, I don't think there's really much in our evolution that would say that should make us uncomfortable, Especially, I think it's more contextual when we're talking about evolution as well, because it's one thing to be forced to spend time by yourself because your tribe has rejected you and you've been shamed and ostracized. It's another thing I would think to choose to, but yet we're still, I don't think we can blame evolution totally on that because we're just so connected yet disconnected at the same time, pretty much all the time, unless we're sleeping, so I've been thinking about that a lot lately. That's one thing we could talk about. Silence. What have you been thinking about lately?
What haven't I been thinking about? Google. I've mainly been thinking about, since they lost all of our reviews, and I almost cried when they put them all back, which you saw.
Yeah.
I've been mainly thinking about Google. Yeah, and since then, my brain's been unfried by Google. So what have I been thinking about? Free rehab programs. Is
Free
one thing
rehab
that I've been
programs. That's a
thinking
good
about.
idea.
Something we're doing before the end of the year.
That's cool.
Although
That's
I
good.
thought it was off the table when Google lost all of our reviews.
Shout out Google.
But
How
they
does a
found them
company
again.
that big make that big of a mistake?
I mean, everything's human, everything's fallible, so
Yeah.
everything will always have flaws. To expect everything to go perfect is unrealistic, especially sometimes in a bigger organization. It's harder to
Yeah.
keep track of stuff. The more frustrating thing isn't about errors happening, it's more about how can you handle it as, why can't we get a human to look at this properly for so long? That
Mhm.
was the more frustrating thing, you know. So I think problems will always happen, you know. Bikes break down, this happens, food goes off, water doesn't turn up, power gets
Yeah.
cut off, yada,
Yeah.
someone's sick.
Yeah.
A million ways in which life will let us down. And same for any organization. So it's not really about that, it's about what they do to correct it. And now they have corrected it, which I'm so immensely grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more about what they do to correct it. That's what I'm more worried about.
Were you
which-
ruminating a lot during that time?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been shut down twice before
Yeah.
because of a volcano and COVID. Lost everything, lost my house, lost everything before with the volcano. So, yeah, it's a scary prospect. I
Yeah.
think, and I must have some trauma, some fear around these big events that like, we're here again, you know?
Mm.
So sometimes it sharpens the axe, though, so to speak. So forces us to go deeper and look harder at other methods and make sure other things are on point. So now we're in a far stronger position because of that setback and that challenge.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will continue to grow in that and realize the need to grow in some of those ways now and new processes and stuff. But yeah, it was fucking scary.
Did you feel like you could shut your thoughts off during that time? Legit. First question, did you want to shut your thoughts off during that time?
Ooh, I never thought about that.
Oh, I get so annoyed when I'm ruminating.
So
I get so annoyed.
One guy, well, interesting, I heard this morning. One guy said he writes down his plans. A guy called Alex Hormozy writes down his plans. If he's just trying to make a decision, do I go this way or do I go that way? I write down my plans. And I do that because then later, if I start having the debate, I just go, well, this is why I've chosen this way, which I thought was fascinating. I do find myself ruminating, and I find myself waking up a lot through the night and ruminating. I have to listen to something, which isn't always perhaps the healthiest training method, because I've trained my brain that I have to listen to something to sleep, to stop the head. But it works very effectively and it doesn't impact me. So
I don't think there's any. I'm like dependent on Netflix when I'm ruminating because I need like the visual stimulation, and that's super. It's so bad for your circadian rhythm. But I don't think there's anything wrong with listening to anything. Like as long as you're getting like the deep enough sleep and like the REM and stuff.
Sometimes I play something 3 or 4 times and like I've literally got into a minute of the video and I don't know any more past then.
'Cause you're just
Occasionally,
off.
yeah, just straight off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can sleep really well when I'm not overthinking, which is a trait for people with addiction, maybe for a lot of people without it, but certainly for people with addiction problems, we can really overthink. I know that much is true.
Yeah, we actually, oh my God, we actually just watched this podcast by, do you know Dr. K? I think he's like Indian or Pakistani or something like that. And he's really cool because he's got this, like, he studied for 7 years to be a monk and then decided he didn't want to be a monk and then got his PhD, or he got his doctorates in psychiatry, right? So he's got this really cool blend of like Eastern approach mixed with the Western approach and like a really good way of thinking about it critically. Anyways, we watched this podcast of his about rumination, and it was talking about how when someone is in a state of rumination, particularly a pregnant woman who someone who's suffering from postpartum depression,
That's after they give birth.
yeah, they women will actually be less responsive. Like they won't register their baby's vocalizations of needs. Like they literally won't hear them crying as much, won't hear them laughing as much. Like they've studied that.
Body shut it down.
Yeah, and it's
Fascinating.
wild what rumination will do to you, you know? And but I don't know. I definitely think it's something. I don't think it's something exclusive to addicts and alcoholics, you know, same thing, but I don't think it's something exclusive to them. But it's just been, yeah, it's been interesting because like I was going through a state of rumination and like I get super annoyed with myself when I get into that state. And it's like, how do we shut the brain off? Which kind of goes back into that whole like Vipassana thing, right? Because if you can't shut your brain off, which I think maybe 1% of the population can do that, if that, you know, very, very small amount of people. If you can't shut your brain off, like you just have no freedom.
I believe you can train your brain, and the key is
too.
train rather than that. And I've witnessed it. I've experienced it. I remember in early recovery, I kept obsessing. Obsessing sounds bad. Obsessing about an ex. I couldn't stop thinking about an ex.
You're obsessing, man.
Yeah, my God, yeah. Just because I followed her a few times, you know, I did not follow her. I like to say,
I'm not a stalker.
I'm not me neither. So I couldn't stop thinking about how we'd split up and all the old torture, like with alcohol. Should I have split up with her? Oh, we did have some good times, you know, constant debate in my head, rumination after the decision's been made to split up, which was the right decision, but all this debate in the head. And a guy in AA actually said to me, just pray. Every time she comes into your thought, just pray. And said, you know, God, this is a sick person, like an unwell person, like to view them in a nice way. Bless them. Please remove these thoughts from me. And I was just desperate. I'd literally torturing myself with thinking about her constantly. Yeah. And he taught me to do this. And I've now come to realize it's a powerful psychological tool because it's almost like CBT. We're literally retraining the brain. We're rewiring neural pathways every time I did it. So a thought would come in and I'd say, you know, bless her. Please remove her from my thoughts. Bless her. Please remove her from my thoughts. And I called him up and I said, this is not working, bro. I'm doing it constantly. And he said, just keep at it, you know. Mm-hmm. Just keep at it. It will work. And I was desperate, right? I think I have to be pretty desperate to pray. Certainly in those days, As a non-religious person, the whole thought of praying was like, what the fuck? But I was desperate. So I was desperate enough to try it. And I did it. And sometimes, no word of a lie, I did it 6 times a minute. I'm like, God, please remove her from my thoughts. And then I'm like there, like, God, please remove her from my thoughts. But what happened is over the time, there came a point where I thought, I haven't thought about her for an hour. And then, geez, I haven't thought about her for 4 hours. And I haven't thought about her for half a day. And then the day came, I didn't have to do this all of yesterday. And what it is, every time whether it's God, I don't know. But one thing I know is every time it pops into my brain, arrest the thought process and stop it. And you're literally breaking down the neural pathway and teaching the neural pathway. Like a well-worn path. If you've got a path through the woods or through the jungle, it's worn down, it's open. Yeah. Well, you're basically, every time that thought comes to that path, you're like, nope, not today, go away. And slowly that path isn't worn down and the jungle starts to grow back or the forest starts to grow back and it becomes overcome. And after a while, you can no longer see that path. What you're doing instead is you're walking the other path where the thought doesn't go and that pathway becomes stronger and stronger. And that's literally what we're doing in that. We're literally training our brain not to overthink. So my experience is I can and I have done it. And maybe I've never been desperate enough to try it again. But yeah, I believe you can train yourself. The brain is a muscle. Yeah. And we can train that. I think that's scientific fact with neurobiology. Yeah, neuroplasticity. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I also really like that because I like the idea of, you know, like in recovery in 12-step, we get this like take inventory. And it's always about the resentments. It's always about the fears, like poor sex conduct, things that are kind of on the I don't want to say it's on the shaming side because it's not. It's not. I think people can take it as shame, but it's not meant to be that way. It's just meant to be like,
Absolutely.
hey, let's just clear out all the junk,
Yeah, which
because we all have
everyone
it.
has. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, we don't have a lot of like inventory for like how well am I getting? You know what I mean? Like I like that a lot because of what you said around, oh, I realize now that I haven't thought about her for X amount of time and that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and you start to see like, okay, there's like data, there's like something
Mm,
that I can measure that says that that this tool, not only is this tool working, but I'm actually getting better in this, and I feel like that's something that we can kind of lose sight of, like how well am I getting,
yeah.
like I talk about that a lot in group actually, primarily around like peacetime tools. I heard Esther Perel. Do you know Esther Perel? Yeah, I heard her say something about that. Like everyone has wartime tools, but no one really has peacetime tools.
Mm,
And like someone will come up to me and I'll be like, "Hey, how are you?" And they'll say good, and I'll ask them why. They find it this like the most strange thing, They're like, "What do you mean why?" I'm I'm like, "Well, if you were
wow.
sad, I'd ask you why. It'd be kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
rude if I
yeah.
didn't. But if you're good, you don't want to reflect on that,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
You don't want to ask
Wow.
yourself like, what did I do to actually feel good today so I can do it again, You
Yeah.
just want to have all these like putting the fire out tools instead of like, okay, well, how about we like, prevent the forest fires instead,
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Just I'm
I
like,
like that.
I I just started wearing this Whoop thing and it's like just nothing but raw data. So it
Yes.
shows me like how my behaviors, physical behaviors sh- are affecting my health.
Mm,
And it's so motivating to have that, and I think especially as addicts, that dopamine hit of like I'm seeing the streak or like I'm seeing that like my sleep score was high or like this particular exercise like really really got my heart going and like I'm doing well, to be able to see that and get that like instant gratification in a way that doesn't hurt me.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like it's so good. It's such a good way to use a mechanism in our head that's worked so long against us in our favor.
It's
Yeah, I like
fascinating
that.
you say that because I'm debating using it for the clients.
Yeah.
Because also, so when you see a PT, like a lot will make you take a picture with your shirt off before you start.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you do it a month later. And the reason you do that is to compare the two or however long later. Because when we're making incremental changes, it's hard to see. Whereas when you look at here to month one, month two, or month three, it's very visible. But we can't see it because we're losing a millimeter a day, getting a millimeter a day in shape. So it's very hard for us to notice. But when you look at the old and the new, it's very stark. And that's exactly why I thought about the Whoop or similar, not sponsored yet, but please reach out if you want to sponsor us,
Yes. I
or
love them.
any other companies. Um, but it's the data, you can't, it's just very in your face. If it's a graph, okay, this is improving every day, my heart rate's getting better, my sleep's getting better. Sometimes it can be very powerful when you don't think there's progress. So like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm not sleeping, but you look at it, actually I got 5 hours good sleep, well I thought I got 3,
Mhm.
so actually I got more than I thought I got, which can be something people in early recovery find in rehab challenging, sleep. But exactly that, it's like that healthy dopamine kind of hacking is kind of the cool term these days. That
Yeah.
you got raw data. You can't
Mhm.
see when it's just me living it every day, but when it's on a graph, when it's data points every day,
Yeah.
you can literally experience that and see it in black and white.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think like I think like we can I'll speak for myself. I can get really caught up in the cards that I wish I had. You know what I mean? Like had been dealt in life, instead of just being like, all right, my brain is wired the way it's wired. Like I have that for example, that mentality of like, all right, if I'm gonna do a Vipassana, instead of doing like one where maybe there's speaking at the end of every night and or someone is talking to me and at least I get that contact. No, we're gonna do like no eye contact, no human contact with anybody that's around you at all, like that extreme, right? And I wish I wasn't like that. But at some point I have to say, well, you are.
Yeah, embrace
You are.
your truth. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
How
yeah.
can I make this work for me? You know, like where are the pros and where are the cons in this? And how can I kind of make I think every we call them in 12-step character defects, right? But we say that, you know, every character defect has a character asset, you know, and trying to find
Mhm.
like the other side of that coin. I think that's probably one of the most valuable things we can do to get to eliminate shame around those types of things, you know? Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that because you're literally talking about essentially victim or a survivor
Hmm.
mentality, victim complex, survivor complex. But I know a guy my coach works with that wrote a book, ADHD, My Superpower.
Hmm.
And he's gone on, I think he sold a company for over £100 million. He managed to turn what a lot of people complain about into a superpower. And that's exactly it. Everyone gets dealt some bad cards. Yes, some are worse than others, absolutely. But we all get dealt bad cards.
Right.
And it's not about the cards you're dealt, it's about how you do with them that defines your life. And
Hmm.
yes, it is very sad. Some people have tragic cards dealt for them.
Hmm.
But crying about the cards you've dealt won't help you. You know,
Yeah.
is the reality. What helps you is dealing with them and moving into the survivor mentality and not just sitting there for 10 years going, can't believe I've been dealt this. I can't believe I dealt with this. Like, okay, I have been dealt with this. As David says, what next? And
Yeah.
that's one thing I did very well with this whole Google situation was like, okay, also speaking to Dr. Terry, our old clinical director, about some EMDR from a bike crash I had that's really affecting me. I suffer from, this is an interesting one for anxiety. I suffer from bad anxiety.
Hmm.
And when I jump on the bike now, every day I get 10 thoughts in my head of how I'm going to die, which is a very challenging way to live. There's a truck coming. What if I just fall over and he takes my head off? Literally. What if I fall down this pothole and get stabbed by that stick of metal sticking out of the road, which is a
Yeah.
reality for us and where we live. It's the roads can be crazy. So,
Yeah.
um, what I've been doing is, starting the EMDR with Dr. Terry, which starts with grounding. I've been doing breath work every day and then working the solution. Like another thing David says is work the solution,
Yeah.
which you have to be careful not to just work the solution and allow space to feel.
Hmm.
Because if you're just working a solution, you're potentially avoiding, which can be healthy to a point and unhealthy at a point. But yeah, with the thing, okay, extra breath work, back in the gym again, which I'd been off since I got really sick.
Hmm.
Back in the gym again, healthy eating, doing lots of breath work, preparing for this EMDR, working on lots of different things while we try and chase Google for answers, lots of different solutions to solve problems. So that's exactly the thing. Yes, Google unfortunately fucked us over. It's nothing we could change. It was, potentially rehab ending level disaster, but it's happened and me crying about it for a month wouldn't fix it. What
Mm.
fixes it is, okay, I need to go to work. I need to work on these things to try and solve the trust issue that we feel we had by losing 10 years of reviews.
Yeah.
Suddenly people wouldn't book. And I understand why we've gone from 10 years of reviews to 2 reviews in a week. Well, I can understand why people don't trust that as much,
Mm.
So work the solution. What can I change? What can I fix? What can I work on? Work on myself because I need to keep me healthy. We're coming into a crisis. The best way I navigate that is trying to be healthy and trying to deal with the stuff. And interestingly, when I got in the gym, when I started doing the breath work, I couldn't do breath holds. And I couldn't do breath holds because I've been shallow breathing so much from
Yeah.
anxiety.
Mm.
So we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but that's, yeah. Well,
I
funny
like the
enough, you
tangent.
say, yeah, I like tangents and
Yeah.
tangerines. But funny enough, you said good at wartime. I found I'm very good in a crisis, which were different. It's when times aren't challenging that I have to really push myself. And there's a saying,
Yeah.
discipline works when motivation fails. Well, I can be really motivated when my back's against the wall to go to the gym more, to do breath work more, to reach out to Dr. Terry for EMDR, to boom, boom, boom. Suddenly I start working at 7 a.m. because I know we're in a crisis, which isn't healthy in the long term. But in a crisis, you got to do what you got to do for a few weeks, survival mode. So,
Hmm.
I can do those things very well when I'm in a crisis. But like you said, when there's not a crisis, it's like, maybe I'll start work at 10 today. And, I go to the gym tomorrow. I'll just get McDonald's today. Not sponsored by McDonald's. But again, if you want to sponsor us.
I feel like McDonald's maybe not the best sponsor. Maybe they got a lot of cash though.
Possibly. But can we help more people with their money?
Yeah, good point.
Potentially,
Good point.
potentially. And do they have a social responsibility to sponsor us? I'm not going to say they do, but maybe they do.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That's a good point. You owe it to us. You owe us
Maybe.
the sponsorship.
Maybe. Please don't sue us.
That's interesting. I feel like I'm the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about whether or not that's actually true though. It depends on how severe the crisis is, I think. You ever heard of windows of tolerance?
No, not.
Okay.
I can summarize, but not those words.
I was just gonna say you might know it by a different term, but so I work with a somatic therapist, right? And she talks about windows.
What exactly is a somatic therapist? Even I don't quite know.
Oh, they're awesome.
They're
exactly what you were talking about, right? So we have obviously different types of therapy, and a lot of therapy is very cognitive and analytical planning, neck up, right? That's the way I explain it to people, neck up. And somatic therapy is focusing more on the neck down, right? It's focusing on your emotions and how to experience them, but also how to get your autonomy back on them, right?
Okay.
Because until I met her, I didn't know it sounds so childish, but I didn't know you could control your emotions. And when I say that, I think it's very important to delineate between controlling your emotions and controlling your behavior. I knew I could control my behavior when I'm having an emotion.
Yes.
But when I say controlling your emotions, you can move them and you can make them bigger and you can make them smaller, right? So that's essentially what somatic therapy is. It's about getting back into your body, because I have a lot of information in my head about mental health, addiction, even some of the Eastern philosophies, and in terms of lifestyle and health. But integrating them and embodying them is a really different journey, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
and it's almost more frustrating. In my experience, it's been more frustrating to have that information but not be able to integrate it, right? So,
okay. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. So somatic therapy helps you. I don't want to say heal your nervous system, because that's really misleading, but it helps you regulate your nervous system on a daily basis, so you can actually be calm enough to integrate these new things and feel safe enough to integrate these new. When I say new, I mean new to your physical body, right?
Because every feeling is a chemical reaction in our body, essentially. And our brain. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if my body isn't feeling safe enough I'm not going to change. In order to change, you need to have safety, right? And I can be safe and still not feel safe. So after a while, in years of doing, cognitive therapy of whatever sort, talk therapy, I was like, you know what, this just isn't integrating for me. And this is frustrating. I'm annoyed because I know all this stuff and I can talk about it, but I can't live it. And it makes you feel fraudulent, So I started seeing a somatic therapist. And that's been really, really helpful. And she talks about, getting back to that, she talks about windows of tolerance. And essentially, you can think about the way that we respond to life in terms of we all have a certain space for stress. And in that space we can operate, right? Once we move outside of those parameters though, we either move into fight or flight, or we can move into freeze, Yes. So the whole point of somatic therapy is to increase your windows of tolerance. So that way, things that normally would stress you out don't stress you out to the point where you move into fight or flight or freeze, So I forget why I brought up window. Oh, we were talking about crisis. How do I respond in a crisis?
Yes.
So I think when I move into extreme crisis, I go into freeze. Fight or flight though. I think I can definitely go into fight or flight when I'm like, it depend. I think it's contextual for me. Depends on how much power, perceived power I think I have over the situation.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool hearing you chat on that. I had a chat with Jill about the buzzword of nervous system resetting. And yeah, I get why it draws. It's more like a nervous system pause or temporary, I'd say a temporary reprieve.
Mm-hmm.
Because what she said, well, what you don't really want is to just reset the nervous system or pause the nervous system every time and keep getting back there. What you want to do is make the nervous system more resilient, which is
Yes.
exactly what you said about the
Yeah.
window of
Tolerance.
Mm-hmm. Make it more resilient, build resilience, which we speak to some great people about resilience, like Simone. So it's really where the strength is. And then the other thing is pulling yourself out of the situation. If you're in a situation that keeps leading you to where you need your nervous system reset, you either need a more resilient nervous system, which you can help create and build, which sometimes needs to be built after extracting yourself from the situation, or you just need to change the situation if it keeps happening. That is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even just changing the situation, if it keeps happening, requires a pretty strong nervous system, like.
Well, and life, yeah, because if it's a work
Yeah.
situation, it's like, how am I going to pay the bills? How are my kids going to eat? It's quite, you're fighting your head and fighting survival instinct at the same time, potentially.
Mm. Yeah, it's been really interesting that like the nervous system has become like a really big buzzword lately, And it's good. I think it's a good thing. And sometimes I don't
It's
know.
getting people there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm in spaces of mental health that it seems like that's something people are really talking about or not, but I really hope that that's something people are talking about. It's incredible. It's incredible how much perceived threat we experience that's just not even a threat. It's just not even a real actual threat.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a waste of time.
It is, but our body's wired for survival, like my anxiety, which I get from my mum, who was
Mhm.
severe.
Mhm.
I feel is severe. It's survival, because 10,000 years ago, if someone was in a more dangerous environment, they're constantly being triggered.
Mhm.
Well, the body made them more anxious,
Yep.
so they literally live more. So they think, well, maybe someone is going to come around that corner with a pointy stick, so I need a bigger pointy stick. Maybe a tiger is going to jump down from this tree, so I need to be more aware. And the ones that didn't have that anxiety got killed by the
Yep.
pointy stick or got eaten
Yeah.
by the tigers. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder about like the next phase of evolution, like is that the next phase of evolution for human beings? Like our nervous system is so outdated in terms of, I don't know if I should say the nervous system is outdated. It is, but I think society is just totally not built for human beings anymore, which is interesting
Yeah, yeah.
because we're the ones that built it.
And you could say either is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've got to generally a lot of the world, or certainly in the West, have got ourselves to a place of safety.
Yeah.
And this system that governs our survival isn't needed anymore, but we still have this system.
Yeah.
So it's triggered by other things. Yeah, exactly the same. Like, yeah, a stressful work situation or a stressful work meeting can trigger exactly the same survival instinct as us being chased by someone with a pointy stick.
Yeah. We have to, at some point, we'd have to evolve out of that, right? We'd have to.
We will at some point if we live long enough, some way. I don't know how. But the problem is, will we outgrow the solution quicker than we get there? Like, what will the next thing look like? And then
we move
if
too
we're
fast.
pumping drugs and things in our system, how does that stop us evolving out of it?
I've never even thought about that, right? Yeah.
Me neither till now.
Yeah. I mean, because the whole point of evolution is eventually like it gets bred out, or there's some type of mutation, and that seems to be like the better adaptation, so that eventually replicates and duplicates, and but wow, I've never thought about that. Like if we keep suppressing these maladaptations in terms of breeding, right? Like if someone who has like if someone who has like really really bad schizophrenia without medication, right? But then they take their medication and they're fine, right? And as a mate, you can still find them as someone that to mate with, right? And they can appear that way, but their genes haven't changed. So your offspring will still have that
Mm.
propensity for schizophrenia. Do you see what I'm saying?
Potentially, yeah. And other things because of epigenetics. So where
Yeah.
I found out, which is generational trauma. So I didn't really understand generational trauma. Like, how can you get trauma from 3 generations ago that hasn't impacted you? I didn't really understand how it could affect your
Hmm.
genes. And I asked someone about it, and he said epigenetics.
Hmm.
Epigenetics are genes that alter depending on your environmental circumstances.
Yeah.
So your genes actually alter
Hmm.
depending on your environmental circumstances. So yeah, even the epigenetics is affecting the next one. And the prime example is me and my mum. I absolutely recognize ever since a kid now, my anxiety is comes from my mum. You know,
Hmm.
I get literally if I go to ride a slide at a water park, I'm like, what if the stairs collapse while I'm going up them? What if the
Oh,
bolts
it's
between
terrible.
the things undo as I'm going down? It's like
Are these
terrifying.
fleeting thoughts or do you get stuck in those thoughts?
I get like, yeah, I go, oh man, oh, yeah, they're horrendous. And I was only
Wow.
living in Bali and riding a bike every day in Bali chaos that I recognize actually I'm having these thoughts of how a million ways to die every day. That's like 10. It's fucking intense. And
Yeah.
I notice because when I go away, my nervous system calms down.
Hmm.
But then after a few months, it's up here and my jaw's really clenched. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and then when I go away again, it comes down again. It's not the best environment for me to live in, I found. Even when I was sick the other day, and then I get really nervous on the bike, which doesn't help, especially when I'm carrying a passenger. Even when I was sick in bed for 3 days and I
Yeah.
came out and I rode the bike with Ayu on the back and it's like, wow, I'm so much calmer today. And she said, yeah, I felt it. And
Mm.
I felt like noticeably. And it's like a Coke bottle analogy. So when you shake up Coke, every single day I'm going through it, it's getting more and more shaken. And when I just had a few days off, it was like, release the
Yeah.
pressure. So yeah, but I recognize now always had this fear of the worst happening as a little kid, like
Mm.
silly stuff. What if I fall over while I'm walking down the pavement and hit my head on the curb? Like absolutely silly things that happen 1 in 1 million or more, but my head will constantly play them through with me. And when I notice how bad my mum's anxiety is, she almost certainly has an anxiety disorder, which I've come to realize I probably have in some level, or almost certainly have. Bali has highlighted to me. Um, it's fascinating. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It is. It really is. It's wild. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna how I'm certain that that has to be the next step. I really do believe that. I really do believe that the next step of human evolution has to do with like some type of shift in emotions because it's causing us so much distress and so many health problems that I mean, I can't think of maybe I don't know, maybe you can. I can't really think of something more detrimental to the human race than the inability to regulate your emotions. You know,
Mm.
think of how many wars are started because a few people just can't regulate their emotions. Like they can't understand, like, I'm having a thought.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
having,
yeah.
it's just the thought I'm having, or I'm having a feeling. Like maybe I don't need to start an entire war. Like all of these problems,
Oh,
all of them. There's no problem, in my opinion, there's no problem that exists amongst the human race that cannot be solved by disidentifying with your thoughts and your emotions.
mm.
Anything.
One thing that I've been doing is really fascinating to hear you saying that. I'll have to share it with you. It's a little Instagram short or something of the highest form of evolution. And it says, this woman says the highest form of evolution is being able to recognize your emotions and try and control your emotions more and not get caught up in the emotion. And it's interesting you shared that, because I've been practicing it with
Mhm.
a little bit of success, and partly because, and I'm not sure if it's ego or it's a healthy ego, because I'm like, I want to be in this highest form of
Me too.
intelligence thing. Like
Yeah.
I've only told people when it's come up and I share them the video, because I'm like, hey, damn, I didn't realize till I heard that. Like, of course we can, to a level, control our emotion, our reaction. And partly by controlling our reaction, we are training our brain. We are controlling that emotion, which retraining our brain. We're retraining this
Absolutely.
muscle. So I've been like, okay, I'm feeling this, but what is it? What is it? It's not rational, Oh, okay, maybe she's just had a bad day. Maybe it's not about me, you know. Prime example, I was at a meeting where they were doing boy speaker, girl speaker, boy speaker, but girl speaker, and a guy tried getting up after another guy, and they're like, whoa, whoa, sit down, it's a girl speaker. And he went on to share afterwards. He felt like really like down and broken. And afterwards, after the girl finished, they said, hey, you come back up here. We need him to come back. He was trying to get up. And he said, I felt really rejected in that moment. And the truth is, it wasn't about him. They just want boy, girl, boy, girl. But I can relate, because in that moment, I'm like, everyone's saying, or someone's shouting, no, should be her next, should be her next. I'd be like, well, what is wrong with me? The reality is, it's nothing to do with you. But
Right.
how many times a day, week, month do we get these kind of thoughts when actually it's nothing to fucking do with us?
Yep.
Maybe I snap at my wife, and I'm just saying that because it's better than she snaps at me. So let's pretend I snapped at my wife, and she's like, well, what have I done? It's like, maybe I just had a bad day at work. It's
Yep.
nothing to do with you,
Yeah.
but we almost try and over intellectualize things sometimes when it's actually, and same with her. I've done mixed circles and learned a lot more about female biology, behavior, menstrual cycle, and how some women can feel almost 4 different personalities when they're different. And now I can
Yes.
say to myself, and I've got more of an understanding with IU and stuff, I'm like, oh, maybe it's just her period.
Yeah.
Which they talk about a lot more openly in Indonesia than we do in the West.
Really?
But literally, yeah. Yeah.
Surprising.
Maybe it's just her period. And I'm like, it's nothing to do with me. She's just having a biological change in the hormones that are being produced.
Yeah.
Literally that.
Yeah. And I feel like there's even like shame that we experience that we project out around that, where it's like if someone's like, oh, are you on your period? And we're like, what's that supposed to mean?
I've never, I like to clarify, I've never asked anyone that. But,
yeah, but I mean,
well,
it's
except
actually,
Dave, and he just looked at me funny.
it's actually a completely reasonable question. Like men, they get their 24-hour hormonal cycle. Ours lasts all month. And I do feel like I only feel like the same person because the same shit happens to me each week. That's the only connection. You know what I mean? But like in the beginning of like my menstrual cycle, the first half, I'm like cruising, and then the last half, I can just be so moody, and it's not, it's, yeah, obviously if someone says something like, oh, what are you on your period? I'm like, damn it. But it's more
Someone
because,
actually said that to you.
oh yeah, my friends and I have a terrible sense of humor.
Like female friends or male friends?
Both. Both, But I don't, yeah, will it irritate
But it's said
me?
with humor.
Oh
Said
yeah,
with
yeah,
humor,
with
okay.
humor. I'm sure someone's probably said it to me with malice at some point, but like, no, it's usually said with humor and also a degree of like, dude, should I be afraid? You know what I mean? Because like it's really intense and it's actually not something that we talk about at all.
And that's why I think it's valuable.
It's
Because it's like,
insanely
it's
valuable.
okay. Maybe if you are in that part of your cycle, and I know, I just act a little differently around you. And I
Yep.
won't take offense if you get a bit grumpy. I'm like, oh, it's not about me.
Right.
So I don't get all like, well, why is she treating me like that? No, it's just not about me.
Well, a lot of women don't even know about this. I forget who I was talking to. So there's like, for those of you who don't know, there's the menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation, mid-luteal phase, and the luteal phase.
I
Right?
didn't know all of that.
Yeah. But most women,
Okay.
and the luteal phase is what people call PMS, right? This is where everyone gets really moody.
Okay.
And some women can get like PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. right? And that's when it's like people will have thoughts of killing themselves, and it's like properly you're mentally ill for that 1 week. And then women with that will get their period, they'll bleed, and instantly their whole mood will change.
Wow.
It's incredible, right? But a lot of women haven't even heard the term luteal phase. They don't know anything. I had a friend named Rosanna who taught me about all of this, because she sets her entire business up around her menstrual cycle. And she teaches women how to do that, because the work week isn't set up. It's a patriarchal design, right? Because women didn't work, right? So it's around assuming we all have the same degree of energy every day, but women can't perform the same. Some women can, every woman's different, but men will always have a more consistent performance when they're in their, in the part of their life where they can procreate, which is pretty much like all the time. Basically, when their testosterone doesn't start declining, right? They can perform pretty much the same every single day. Women can't. Right.
And now they can add more testosterone.
What was that?
Now they can add more testosterone even when it's declining.
Yeah, it's wild, So it's just really interesting. It's really interesting that women aren't taught about their own health,
It's
And
really
we
interesting
wonder-
why we aren't taught so fucking much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the stuff I learned, I didn't go to school much, but the stuff that I learned in school, yeah, I know. It's so obvious. It's useless compared to the things that I struggle with today. It's nothing that my education in school would have helped me with.
Like, I often use this example, and I used trigonometry in 2 different jobs outside of school. So, I was like, when are we ever going to fucking use this outside of school? Well, I've used it in 2 different trades, 2 different jobs. Pitching roofs being one for trigonometry. But I'm like, we teach trigonometry, but we don't teach budgeting, how to manage money.
Yeah.
And every person needs to budget and manage money. I got taught French for 7 years, but we don't get taught healthy communication, how to set a boundary, what to do if you're struggling with mental health and things that I'm not knocking teaching French, but I am knocking not teaching mental health for 7 years, because these things are daily life problems. Teaching, some people don't know how to cook for themselves, clean for themselves, literally how to make a bed, just how to look after themselves. These are daily things we need, daily, weekly basis. We're not taught, but, we're taught geography and history. And I'm not saying they don't have value, but I don't think they have the value of the daily things.
Well, I think it's because, like, capitalism, not to get super controversial, but I think that's just kind of a fact, like why, if we have a nation and we want our citizens to produce, well, that's what we're going to teach them how to do. That's going to be the value of education, and I think that's where that stems from, because at least in the United States, I'll speak for the country that I know the best. Like, that's your worth, like, you don't need to be happy to be someone that is famous and popular and looked up to. You don't need to be happy at all. I think most of the people that we look up to are miserable.
Absolutely. Or dysfunctional.
But they produce, whether they produce music or they produce Coca-Cola.
Look how many famous celebrities die of overdoses or kill themselves and stuff like that, with seemingly everything they ever wanted.
Yeah.
Or I heard someone talk about gold medal syndrome. Gold medal syndrome, people fall apart when they win a gold medal at the Olympics. It's actually a term for it, gold medal syndrome.
Yeah.
Everything I've been striving for isn't what I expected, and it's over.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm grateful to be an addict. I'm really grateful to be an addict, right? But I think,
I got it tattooed on me.
Yeah.
To carry a message.
It's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me was my heroin addiction, for sure. And I think that's part of it, because even though I can feel like kind of like mentally like an outcast sometimes in terms of the way that I think, I feel like addicts, if you're as dysfunctional as me when you were using, I hit the midlife crisis in the beginning. You know what I mean? Where I was like, everything is horrible. I hate this. I need to do all this emotional work on myself now. And instead, other people are like, they're cruising, you know, like they have their
Well,
issues and stuff,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like they don't have anything that makes them desperate enough to pray, like makes them desperate enough to really go inside and
The
have
gift of
that silence.
desperation.
Yeah.
Do things that we just absolutely would never picture ourselves doing.
Right. And it's like, it's almost like we live life. If you get clean young, you live life kind of backwards where you do all the emotional work and then you're like 30 and you're like, I don't have a career. But at the same time, you kind of realize like, okay, this isn't, I think at around like year 4, I started to really get things. Like I got the car, I had motorcycles, I had a really good job, like all that stuff, and I was depressed and I was like, oh yeah,
Conventional norm.
yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay, I know what this is. I know that this, because of the work I've been doing, I know that I've been focusing on all this material and I'm never going to appreciate anything if I don't feel okay, and it kind of goes back to that whole thing of like emotions are everything. Everything. It's why we do everything in life, So it's definitely a big reason why I'm really grateful to be an addict. There's a whole bunch of them, but that's probably one of the smaller ones too, Like I think that probably the biggest reason I'm grateful to be an addict is because yeah, just all the emotional stuff that I feel like we get closer to like at least finding a path to enlightenment than most people will because
Self-actualization.
because we've just been like so
Because we've
miserable.
had to.
Yeah.
We have to, yeah.
Mhm.
When the pain gets bad enough, you'll do something about it. When my belly got big enough that a friend would make pregnancy jokes to me, I got in the gym and started doing intermittent fasting. I
Mhm.
didn't until it got bad enough. When I was younger and I got the career and the business early, when I was younger and thought my life was going nowhere, that desperation was what forced me to get a career and then start a business and this and that. And I started a business before I'd finished college, So
Mhm.
I actually had my career before I got my engineering degree. And,
Yeah.
that was that desperation. And then later the desperation to change. I'm so desperate of living the way I'm living and the pain it's causing me that change. And that's why I've got grateful alcoholic tattooed on me. And I'm grateful that was partly to carry a message because I'm really passionate about it. And I had my own business. So who's going to fire me? I'm not going to fire myself. I just have to cover,
Yeah.
So absolutely believe that. And I think a lot of normal people just aren't coping. Look at the use of prescription medications.
Mhm.
Look at the rise in, which is on the whole a good thing, the rise in stuff like yoga, meditation, breath work,
Yep.
the whole rise of the buzzword nervous system reset, because people are looking for better ways to live. And the fact that breath work and meditation has been around for 5,000 years shows me that even back then, people were looking for better ways to live, and it worked, which is why it's continued for 5,000 years or however long it's been. The only difference between them and now is we actually know the science of how breathwork works. We know the science of how meditation works. We know how to work with the nervous system.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's a really good point.
So maybe that's the evolution. Maybe the evolution isn't us, it's our skill set evolving to live a better life. And we've been desperate enough that it was life-threatening, change or die. We had to, our life was at threat and it was just so miserable. It was carry on living this way to the bitter end, as they say, or learn a new way to live. And yeah, if you had told 23-year-old me I'd be praying over a girl, I don't know what I would have said to you, but it wouldn't have been polite. And 25-year-old me was doing that out of desperation, no other way, and a belief, not even necessarily a belief. I don't even know if I believed it would work, but I was just desperate enough to try it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's also another really cool thing I think that I've learned about being an addict is it's kind of going back to that like all right, what cards have I got here and how am I going to play them, right? And
Survival.
Yeah, I
Survivor.
remember like I was in this relationship and it was not a good one, and I knew I didn't have this like the I wasn't ready to leave it yet. And because I knew myself well enough, I knew I needed to actually go deeper into the relationship to get more miserable. You know what I mean?
Accelerate the process.
Accelerate the
Yeah.
process by just being so much more miserable with this
But that's
person.
drugs, right? It's exactly the same.
Yeah, but
That's
it was a
drugs.
conscious choice. I was like, my friends were like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, I need to be more miserable. And even that
Because it's
sounds
the thing
crazy.
that it overrules the little bit euphoric recall. So
Yeah.
euphoric
Yeah.
recall, this is what the good times with alcohol used to be. This is what the good times with drugs used to be. This is the good moments with that relationship. And every time I start to pull away, I remember the brain is fantastic at forgetting the pain and good at remembering the good stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
euphoric recall. And I need enough pain that it
Yeah.
overrules like scales. The scales balance. And at the minute, when I walk away, the good times come up and the bad times, I forget them.
Yeah.
I need the scales to be balanced until the bad times are so much higher than the good times.
Yeah.
It's definitely us as addicts, whether it's us as normal people. Why do people stay in abusive relationships so
Mm.
long? You know,
Yeah.
it's
And but it was just, I've never actually really thought about it until now. Like like being able to actually value the misery, right? Like to where I'm like,
Ooh.
I'm going to use this as a tool to get myself out of a situation instead of being like, I'm going to keep pretending, I'm going to keep bullshitting, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, let's make this worse because you know yourself well enough to know you're not going to leave until it's bad enough. Right.
Mm.
And I had a completely different shift around that. And I think I don't want to say misery is inevitable because I don't necessarily believe that, but I also believe that if you don't know you have a choice, then you don't have a choice. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know that they don't need to be miserable, right? That life doesn't, there's a difference between pain and suffering. Yeah?
Yeah, Buddhists say pain is inevitable,
Inevitable.
suffering is optional.
Absolutely. I think that would even upset some people to hear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Normally, people stuck in a victim complex who have been genuinely wronged by life,
Right.
but
And
can't shift over to a more survivor mindset.
yeah,
unfortunately.
imagine if the people who couldn't get into that place where they understand suffering is a choice and pain is inevitable.
It's easier
right?
said than done as
It's
well.
so much easier said than done. I struggle with it, you know, anytime I'm
we all
going
do.
through something, you know, but
I mean, me and the Google situation.
yeah,
literally.
of course.
Yeah,
And it's
you and the
because
relationship.
we can't stop that thinking most of the time. Like once we're in it, it's really hard to pull
we're
ourselves
human.
out. Yeah, exactly.
We're not robots. Otherwise, I could just go click that switch off.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to work on these. I'm going to do this. I don't need the breath work because I've just clicked that switch off.
Yeah.
You know.
Imagine if we could look at misery and say, you know what, like I see the value in this.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to shy away from it because I can't think of like all of the good things that have happened to me, I would say, in my life have came almost
struggle.
directly
Yeah.
from the pain and the misery. You know, even moving to Bali, if I wasn't an addict, I never would have been offered a job in Bali. I never would have moved here. Then I never would have started surfing. And you know, like, and I think that just comes with experience but most importantly, the ability to acknowledge that situation sucked. You know, because if you get into that toxic positivity and you're like, you know, like, oh, the silver lining, that's all I'm going to look at. It's like, no, then you don't see the value in your pain.
And you don't pull out of things quick enough. Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah, I can work against you.
It keeps coming up for me. It keeps coming up for me. And one of the reasons I'm here now was because, you know, had a successful business, lots of people working for me, and I fucking hated it. And I didn't get 10 years sober for this shit. And that week, I was like, I have to quit.
Yeah.
I have to stop. I have to change. I'm giving up this. I'm changing my life for purpose. I got Grateful Alcoholic tattooed on me 14 years ago, I think, give or take, because I was so passionate about helping and healing people. And I was fucking hated my old business. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Was this when you were an electrician?
Yeah. The stress levels were insane. In fact, one thing was eye-opening. I was working at a rehab in Switzerland, not volunteering, being paid, setting up a trial program.
Hmm.
And they ran this trial program because they were like, it's a good way of doing it. There'll always be holes in something. You can only think of so much. There'll always be something 100 people miss, even the smartest people. And they had
Yeah.
the smartest and brightest and most qualified and experienced people. And I remember I was also doing my night school in counseling. So I was doing a day job, running the business in the UK and doing assignments at night.
Wow.
you know.
Yeah.
And I remember being sat in their office and everyone's losing their head, like little things like, oh, we don't have a box for medication when we go out on an outing, like 100 little things you don't think of, which is
Yeah.
normal. And everyone's running around like a blue-ass fly, we say in England, like losing their heads. And I remember sitting around going, I'm recharging. Everyone else is losing their heads and I feel like I'm having a rest. Like, how fucking stressful is my day job? And even now, the
Yeah.
rehab stress is nothing, which was a product of my creation.
Hmm.
Way too much stress for one person to take on
Yeah.
with the problems we had. Yeah. So problems we had, the daily things. You have, 15 electricians. Guess what? Someone's van's going to break down. Guess what? Someone's tire's going to go flat. Guess what? They're going to get robbed. Guess what? Someone's going to be sick. Guess what? Everyone's going to come due at once. Guess, that's just life. That's just life. But my God, it was too much for one person to manage alone.
Did you feel like your work was meaningful as an electrician?
I did way back when, but the stress overweighed it. And one of the ways I actually started, I have a love for carpentry. So, but I didn't do it because I knew I would have been too bored in the first 2 years. We used to build massive swimming pool huts out of wood, like £300,000, 600,000 Aussie. And this was 20 years ago, like actually like houses. They were stunning. I love working with wood. But I knew I'd be so bored in the first 2 years of college. So I thought I'll do something I know nothing about. Got to get a career. Can't just be a skilled laborer forever. Like I mentioned, got to get a career. I'm going to do electrics or plumbing. I'm good at maths because I'm cool. So I'm going to do electrics. And also, I don't touch people's toilets, which was a factor for me. I'm like, yeah, that's a plus. And also, I did a night school. Me and my mate did a night school in bricklaying to keep us out of the pub on a Thursday night, which was very telling in hindsight.
Yeah.
But all the bricklayers and a lot of tradesmen I worked with, they were all fucked. Their backs were fucked. Their knees were fucked. Their bodies were fucked. I'm like,
Yeah.
electrician is an easier, softer way. And I don't want to put my body through that. So, and I'm sick of being rained up. There's nothing worse than going to work at 7 a.m., turning up at 7:30 and sitting around for 4 hours waiting for the rain to stop and not getting paid. That sucks.
Yeah.
And I have
forgot
friends
that
now.
It's like that for you guys.
Yeah.
It's like that in the States too.
Yeah, James had just came to Bali to do some work for us. He said he had like 6 weeks this year unpaid. 6 weeks. And the worst bit, obviously for some people, the worst bit is not getting paid. Depends on your life situation. But doing all the hard bits of getting up, getting dressed, crack of dawn, going in, sitting in the cold, and then not getting paid and having to go home just sucked.
Yeah.
I don't know how we quite got here, but that's how I became an electrician.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it would be for you, just because
Just sitting around in general is not for me.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, just because it seems like you prefer a more human approach to work. You know what I mean? Like I think you like to work with people more.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the aspect I did love with the work I did. I had so many good customers, so many lovely customers and lovely chats. I love going to do quotes with most people. I really love that side of it. Have some really good friendships with customers. Like so happy to see them. Amount of times I sat with customers and just had a cup of tea and I know about their families. I know about their lives. Like that. I really love that aspect. And actually turn a negative into a positive. The amount of times something went wrong and I forged such a good relationship with that customer because we scratched a table and we're like, look, I'm really sorry. We'll cost me £300, but we'll get it resanded and revarnished or whatever. And yes, the tradesmen are fucking stupid for leaving their tools on the wooden surface. But also, there's only so much you can teach people. People will be people. So, which is hard work, which was one of the stresses. And believe me, we tried. But letting go of that. But yeah, the amount of times something would go right all the way through, go perfectly. And I'd have quite a good relationship with my son. But if something goes wrong and you correct it, or you're late because I forgot, and I don't lie about it, and I just say, I'm very sorry, I'm late. It's just so disarming. The relationships that would be built by getting over a problem were just fantastic.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. It really wins someone over when you're just human with them, hey? Yeah, when you're just really human.
People aren't expecting it in today's world, especially from tradesmen. They're expecting an excuse. Now, I literally, it must have been a dozen times, people would be speechless, like, I'm very sorry, I'm late, I completely forgot. And they'd just go like I'd see they're literally expecting an excuse. And they don't know what to say because I've been honest, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, wait, I do that sometimes. Can't really say anything to that.
Or they're just preparing for a fight and they're like, I can't really fight this. Like, they're just like, that wasn't what I was expecting you to say. It's
not going to script.
You're meant to bullshit me. Yeah.
You have the whole script prepared in your head about what you're going to say when this dude rocks up. And then they arrive. That's happened to me so many times where I'm like, you know what I'm going to say? And then I'm like, oh, this actually isn't really an issue. I don't need to say any of that, do I? And it's like, wow, it was about 40 minutes of my energy completely wasted on a fictitious argument. You know what I mean? But it's just being human. It's just being human, And it's I think it's the type of stuff people don't really want to admit that they do, I was talking to my friend the other day. So I surf, and my housemate, she's like my best friend, and she also surfs. And we're not the best surfers, but we give it our best. And sometimes in surf, what duck diving is, like when you go under the wave
with the board.
So there's like a time to do it, right? And there's times where like a wave will come and you don't need to duck dive it, right? So you don't. But sometimes you get it wrong, at our level, sometimes you get it wrong. And she looked at me and she was like, hey man, do you ever get like super embarrassed if you duck dive at the wrong time? And I was like, absolutely. She's like, I thought I was the only one. I'm like, yeah, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about like, when
you trip down the street, like when you hit something and you're like, whoa, and you don't even fall over and you're like, has anyone seen that?
But
did anyone see that?
It's that vulnerable moment of like, does anyone else look around to see if anyone else has seen it?
And the truth is, 90% of people didn't see it. 10% of people saw it and went, that's it. Or maybe not. One person laughs at it, and that's probably you.
I laughed. So that person, I got laughed at so much when I first started surfing. I probably still do. And that like, I think I've earned it to where I can laugh at other people because I'm also one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm also one of the people getting laughed at. So
and there's actually resilience in that. I think and that is one thing a building site taught me very well, is resilience, because man, you're going to get it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get it. Yeah. And what I did wrong was I'd always fight it. And then they give it worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, me too. I would get angry. I didn't know this until like maybe 2 or 3 years. So I've been in Bali for coming up on 7 years. I started surfing almost 6.5. I started surfing around 6.5 years ago. And the beginning of that was it was pretty much all down in the Phuket, down in Uluwatu. And the first 3 years of my surfing, I didn't really surf with anyone, but I was angry. Like I sucked. And I did not know how to laugh at myself, like at all, right? I took myself like way too, you would have thought that I was trying to be a pro, like with how angry I would get with myself. And I became friends with this chick like maybe 2 years ago or something. And she was like, yeah, we used to call you Angry Jess. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, dude, that's what like me and like kind of a lot of people used to call you, because we would hear you miss a wave or like screw up a turn or something. You would just be like, ah! And we were just call you Angry Jess. And I was like, what? And now it's a completely different situation. Like if I fall off a wave, like I still get upset, but it's not really with myself anymore. I get upset when people are disrespectful in the surf.
Yeah, which is fair. That's a
Yeah,
fair
yeah.
reason to get upset.
But now I laugh. Now, unless it's been like for 3-4 days, I've been consistently screwing up, then I'll get really frustrated with myself. But yeah, it's definitely surfing has been one of the most like
Humbling.
yeah, like I really met a lot of my nasty defects through surfing. Like I didn't know I was arrogant. I didn't know I was selfish. I didn't know how impatient I was, how bossy I was until like I started surfing. Like and was just like,
I could have
damn.
told you.
Yeah, but I just didn't know. Now I am bossy. I just know. I just know about it now. I know about it. And sometimes I have the emotional regulation to like put a cap on it and other times not so much, you know? But yeah. Yeah, it's again one of those things. Like if I hadn't have been an addict, I don't think I ever would have started surfing, you know? It's wild the different things that come out of it that you just are like, what?
Yeah.
This what is that? You know, like 10 years ago, if you were like, oh yeah, you surf, in 10 years you'll be clean and you'll be surfing, I would have been like, I'm scared of the ocean. Like I'm terrified of the ocean.
Really?
Yeah, I was terrified of it. Yeah. I was horrified of the ocean. I used to do practices, like practice swims to try and get through my fear of the ocean. And now I'll paddle out into waves I have absolutely no business being in. It's pretty cool. I'm grateful for it for sure.
That's
good.
resilience. That's
Yeah.
building resilience. Yeah, little by little.
Yeah, addicts
Well
have an
done.
insane amount of resilience. We have to.
We do have to, don't we?
Yeah, you got to get up like $300 every day to get high. Are you kidding? Do you know what kind of resilience that takes?
Yeah. And the things
Yeah.
you have to do to get it. Yeah.
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 There's a
God,
lot of resilience in that.
conversations you have to take or just,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah. It's wild, but it's good. It's good stuff. Once you're through it, it's good. And you know, once you're not obsessing over drinks and drugs and stuff like that anymore, it's so good.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
So many exchangeable or interchangeable skills that you get from that if you just really actually take a look at them, you know.
And
good.
yeah, be willing to look at yourself. One thing Thomas always taught me, The Obstacle is the Way, which is a book by Richard Holloway on Stoicism.
I've
The
heard
obstacle
about this
is,
book.
it's about overcoming the obstacles is where the value is.
Yeah.
Second one is the value's in the doing, like just doing, win, lose, succeed, fail. The value comes from the doing because that's where you learn, which just sounds like your surf journey. You've learned so much more just by doing than you ever, I imagine, would have thought possible to learn these life lessons about yourself from surfing.
Yeah. And really the parts of myself I don't think I ever would have wanted to meet. You know what I mean? Like I would have never wanted to understand how arrogant I could be. Like no one wants to see that in themselves. No one wants to look at their blemishes and their wounds and so it's the kind of stuff you only look at it if you have to. You know?
And yeah, no one wants to, but everyone has blemishes and we can only work on them if we're aware of them.
Yeah.
And presumably you don't want people calling you Angry Jess.
No, when I heard that, I was like, I mean, I thought it was funny because I wasn't in that anymore. But if I had heard that when I was in that, oh my God, I would have felt I probably would have found other places to surf. It would have been so embarrassing, you know? Thank God I didn't
And the
find
book,
out.
it would have got so less angry.
Yeah, everyone would have been zen.
Yeah. We might have fixed just world peace.
Yeah, probably.
Might
At
have,
least down in that one pocket of the planet. It's just Jess is gone now. Everything is better.
Everything is better.
No, but yeah, the thing is, like, I think people, even myself, like, I want the end result. I want to reap the rewards without doing any of the planting,
We all
sowing
do.
any seeds.
We all do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just,
But the value is in the seed sowing.
yeah.
That's the values in the work. So let's come back to something you said earlier about the struggle or value in the struggle. And it's something I keep having this conversation. It started with IU and I keep having it. I said, well, I wish we could all just get an easy life. and everything would go smooth and everything would be good. And you know what? I don't think that would be good for us, because I feel we would become, and the closest analogy I thought of is like entitled rich kids who just have everything and act like dicks. I think we would be them, because the struggle is what humbles us as well as makes us grow. And without that, we'd just be like nonchalant idiots.
Well, there's a mechanism in the brain for that. Like, we're not built to be satisfied, right? Like our dopamine system is built to feel dissatisfaction, right? Like, as the more dopamine we have, the more dopamine we have, the higher our baseline becomes. So the more we need in order to feel dopamine. Yeah. So
there's no wonder we're addicts.
Right. And it's no wonder why, like, society acts like addicts too, right? Like, we
absolutely
think about how fast we've moved through technology. You know, that is definitely the cause of an addicted society, right? Yeah. So,
and I'd say, you mentioned capitalism earlier, and it's funny because we spoke on this on the podcast before. I don't believe we live in capitalism. I believe we live in greed, which isn't a healthy capitalist model. But I think that comes from what you said just now. It comes from that strive, that obsession, that addictive nature has pushed us beyond a healthy reward for progress and striving and growth and innovation to just an obsessive need for more. Because there comes a point, when do you need more than 100 million? And even that's insane money to fathom, unless you're in Indonesia. Even then, it's still pretty big. But, you know, when do you need 1 billion? When do you need 1 trillion now? In fact, I read this morning, Elon Musk, the world's first trillionaire. And if anyone should be the most rewarded person on the planet, he's making the most innovation in all sorts of industries that will change the world, like satellite communication that's going to revolutionize places like Africa that just couldn't get. You know, internet will now have internet, you know, the battery revolution, the electric car revolution, which is nowhere near its pinnacle, but the changes that have come from this, new motor designs, new technologies, new batteries, new sustainable batteries are just being come out that aren't, you know, savagely mined from the country, like sodium batteries. New aerodynamic. One of the reasons his car is so good is because he went, well, we're really limited. How can we change it? We need to make it really aerodynamic, because then the battery will last longer. So just completely revolutionizing so many things. Rockets now, underground travel. The man's a crazy genius. He's definitely crazy. He's definitely a genius, and he should probably be the most rewarded man on the planet. But when do you need $1 trillion? You know, I can't even fathom that money.
So this is, you kind of need to know, like, I would need my phone to do a calculator. So, or to use the calculator to explain this. If you burned $1,000, have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, or when you burn 1 million, how long it would take to 1 billion. It's something like 1 million would take 1 hour, 1 billion would take 24 days.
Yeah, so it's
insanely.
For the people that haven't heard that, it's like if you had $1 billion and you started burning $1,000 every day from 0 AD, right? And you did it up until like this year, you'd still be left. And again, this is why I need the calculator to give the exact number, but it's somewhere around like $200 to $300 million. If you burned $1,000 a day for 2,026 years, you would still have the net worth of Beyonce and Jay-Z. Do you understand? And Donald Trump allegedly has 6 of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's small compared to Elon Musk.
It's tiny.
It's on a whole nother level.
A trillion. If you probably did that like at maybe $1 million a day, you'd probably still have around like, God knows how much money. Like, it would still be in the billions of dollars. Who needs that?
Yeah, yeah. Reality isn't, most of it isn't money. It's all like company.
It's assets and
stuff. It's made up numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's assets and things like that. And hopefully, like, you know, hopefully those things go to some degree of generosity, which I think, you know, from, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know that much about Elon Musk, but I find him a little dodgy. Like, how are you?
Definitely a bit crazy.
Yeah. How are you supporting Donald Trump, who doesn't believe in global warming when you are advocating for the environment, maybe, but I don't know, maybe
But you don't
Elon
have
Musk
to
doesn't
align
believe in
with
global
all
warming.
of everyone's beliefs. I feel like that's
Yeah.
maybe a very, very singular view, for want of a better thing. Like, just because they don't believe one thing doesn't mean I can't identify with the 10 other things they say, per se. And I stay the fuck out of politics, because the one thing I know about politics is none of them serve us. And that's all I know
That's
about
true.
politics.
I think for me, it's more like if I have this one value that's like really
Big.
important
Yeah,
to me,
yeah.
and you're a great guy, you're a great chick, like all these wonderful things, but you actively are working a campaign against that one big value I have. There's something going on with my value system. Like it's for sale. That's my assumption.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
But
true at all.
maybe the other things outweigh that one. So
Maybe.
maybe that one's worth 5 points. All the others are worth 1 point, but logic says, well, that's 10 points versus 5 points.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I'm just
It
playing
does,
devil's advocate. And some things are egregious. Some values, atrocities should not, some things are obviously valued more than others.
I'm sure if I asked him, he'd give me a good reason. It would make sense. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully it would be a genuine one, right? Like he wouldn't, be pulling my leg or something. But
this is exactly what I don't. We're having a conversation about countries in Asia and open corruption, honest corruption. Why I like it. So an envelope of money solves problems here, but I like it because in the West we have dishonest corruption.
Yes.
It could be, and I use this at the minute because it could be, well, I'm giving someone a backhander and they're bringing out all these rules that serve my company, which literally happens in the West. Or I'm going to make the lobby for change with this legislation. And guess what? I've got £100 million worth of shares in their company that's going to benefit from this legislation we're coincidentally putting out. And just dishonest corruption. At least in Asia, a lot of the corruption is honest. It is,
yes.
you get what
Everyone
you
knows
see.
What's going on.
They're not lying and sneaking and buying another 3 houses in the background and growing their wealth secretly. It's honest corruption.
I mean, if I get pulled over in the United States for not wearing a helmet on my bike, I still have to pay them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's way more inconvenient for me as well. I not only have to pay them, I got to take time off work to go to court. It's just basically, and I get it, like that money goes into the government and taxes and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I completely agree with that. Like it's just as much of a money talk society in the States than in comparison to a country like Indonesia, where if I'm just some poor person from, I don't know, Chicago or something, and I get in trouble with the law, well, my chances of not going to prison are extremely low compared to someone who has a lot I and
True.
That's the way the entire system is built. If I want to start a business, if I wasn't raised with the amount of money that someone else has, the privilege is not there.
You say that because I had a conversation with someone yesterday. I talked out of borrowing a lot of money to start a business because they could have got in a lot of trouble. I saw them potentially getting in a lot of trouble. There's value in the struggle. So Thomas, when he helped set us up, then that's a very small amount of money. And then after COVID, again, we started from a very small amount of money. And it meant we had to make every pound, dollar, whatever count. To the point where after COVID, we couldn't afford a TV until the first client booked in. We were that tight. We got down to our last £1,000 twice, both times, after the volcano and after COVID, both reopenings. There's value in having to make every penny count. Whereas if you're given $1 million, I know Rehab started with $1 million. It's just easy to go, oh, this marketing, 10 grand. Oh, that's not work, 20 grand here. And you just don't value the money in the same way, and it's easy to lose. Sometimes there's real value in not having that. And a lot of the best businesses are often started, or certainly by new people, by people that have to struggle and have to make it count. Because otherwise, in fact, I know a friend who got given £500,000 to start a business and it's nowhere to be seen. And the money they wasted and the advice I tried giving them that weren't willing to listen to because they had a big pot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's nowhere and that money's gone. That money could have bought them a house or all sorts. You know?
Well, I was raised with money, you know, like my family, my dad, I should say. My dad, he's earned a lot of money in his life. Not like a crazy amount or anything, but enough to where it's like we're pretty comfortable, right?
Couple trillion.
Yeah, just a couple trillion. We're pretty
He was
comfortable.
actually the first. Yeah, we don't talk about that.
But yeah, I mean, like it's money has been a whole thing I've had to really do a lot of work around, and I'm still doing that
Money
kind
can
of
be
work.
a sickness.
Yeah, no, it's
The
more
ultimate.
because nobody ever really taught me to value it.
Yeah.
Because we had
Yeah.
it, you know, and the people that like my friends that are the best with their money are the ones who grew up without any money.
Interesting, because quite often, and there's even books about this, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think, Richard Kawasaki. Often people that when people don't have money, when they suddenly come into it, they don't know what to do and they spend frivolously. So like the amount of people that won the lottery that didn't have money and are now broke again is staggering.
Right. Yeah.
So
that is Rich Dad, Poor
interesting.
Dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
My the friends I'm talking about, they, you know, they worked. You know, they earned their money. It wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden I've got this huge heap of money in my life. You know, it was like I worked for this money. I need to save it. You know, like I only have so much. And they think before they spend, you know, and me, it's not been something that I've really had to think about, you know, and which, you know, that's great. You know, it's afforded me a lot of really wonderful privileges, you know, which I'm grateful for. But one of the disadvantages is like, you know, if you don't want to be someone like that, if you don't want to be someone that's financially dependent on someone else, nobody really teaches you how to manage your money, you know? So
how easy things come or how hard things come.
Yeah. And that's something that like I've had to learn from my friends mostly in recovery, because they're always the ones who seem to have time to share things like that with you. But just learning, okay, well, what is budgeting? Like the first time I made an actual budget had to have been like 5 years ago. You know, I'm 34, you know, just because I was like,
I think you're probably ahead of most people.
I think most people who have been raised with money, yeah, I'm probably ahead of them.
I was raised with no money and we never, we just couldn't afford stuff. We just didn't have stuff, let alone budgeting.
I feel like people like that though, who weren't raised with money, like, yeah, the budget's helpful, but they kind of have that built-in thing in their head where they're just like
smart, like IU doesn't, like, she gets uncomfortable spending money.
Yeah.
Like actually uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I remember we were in for our anniversary, I think we went up to Mayfair, which is like the poshest part of London.
Yeah.
We went in like surf and turf or something, lobster and steak. She got steak for £30. No, lobster for £30, right? And Mayfair, the most expensive part of London, one of 4 most expensive parts in the world to live, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a steak for £30 would be cheap anywhere. And she
yeah.
couldn't enjoy this lobster. The first one she's ever had, she couldn't enjoy it because of the price of it.
What's 300 pounds in rupee or in dollars?
£30. So,
or 30, yeah.
Oh, 600.
600.
I mean, that, yeah. And for a meal in the UK, £30 is nothing really. You could easily do more than that. Even in a curry house, you can spend that.
Yeah.
You know, you can spend that just about anywhere. Geez, and McDonald's in the UK, one meal is £10. So it's a third the price of this. So it was really bloody cheap, but she couldn't enjoy it because of how she was raised. Yeah, they didn't have any money. Yeah, I think what warped my system, unfortunately, was cocaine. And the amount of money I could spend on cocaine completely warped my perception of how much things cost. Because when you can spend £50 in minutes, you know, it really altered that. I like value. I always hear people say like £100, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, geez, I'd do that in half an hour.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't seem like a lot of money. I guess it is, but I really think cocaine warped my sense of money and what's a lot of money and what's not. Because like you said, when you can do £300 a day without trying, not wanting to, but without trying, it really, and I guess the same must be for gambling. I know people have gambled £100,000 in a month, lost their house in a month.
I heard that gambling addiction is supposed to be one of the gnarliest addiction to go through.
The consequences can be except death and, you know, serious health issues with some.
I mean, you can definitely get killed as a gambling addict. You know, you got debt
Kill
and things
yourself.
like that.
Yeah.
But also just
absolutely.
loan sharks,
That's
know,
what I mean. But I mean,
Yeah.
I can't do 100 grand in a month in cocaine. Believe me. Even if I had 100 grand, I just don't think I could do it. My body wouldn't let me.
Right.
Maybe I'd die trying. I don't know, but I just don't think I could. And in fact, I know friends that have come into that money, like from inheritance and stuff, and blown it all, and they didn't blow it that quickly.
Yeah, imagine losing $100,000 in like an hour. That would be the most devastating feeling possible. But what's interesting about gambling addiction is like, from what I've learned about it, the thing that it eventually they become addicted to losing.
Yeah, there are things like that, and chasing the losses. Yeah,
Isn't that
there are some messed up.
sounds really, really, really dark? You know, like not just dark to be in. You know, and like the level of ostracization, the feeling of being ostracized would be horrible. You know, like imagine like you've got kids, you've got a wife or husband, whatever, and now,
This guy did.
Yeah, we had a client actually who their family like just lost everything because this person just gambled it all away. And they found out, imagine being on the receiving end of that. All your life savings, everything you've got is gone. Decades of work is just gone because someone has a gambling addiction. And in seconds.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. It's supposed to be really dark. And I feel like I don't think there's a lot of understanding around gambling addiction either. Like,
not enough. It's just
that's
starting
a good one.
to.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. Not enough.
And not enough accountability from those multi-billion-dollar gambling companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's already
savaging lives.
Yeah, it's hard enough for people to conceptualize like drug addiction, like how someone could continue to choose to do that. And I feel like even that's more understandable than a gambling addiction in society's eyes.
In some ways, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, well, just stop gambling. It's like, dude, I'm addicted to this. It's just as addictive.
Yeah. Because it's chasing a chemical.
Right.
Chasing a chemical in the brain instead of a chemical in a powder or a drink or whatever that also changes a chemical in the brain.
Yeah, I find it, I will always be fascinated by addiction, like in terms of just what a strange situation it is. Like I used to like
Relief from pain.
Well, yeah, but even more, it's just really abstract. Like I would sit there sometimes after I got off empty, and when I wasn't in withdrawal anymore, and I would look at this bag of heroin, and I would just be like, this is just some tiny little powder that's been synthesized somewhere, and like every single part of the most animalistic part of my brain is obsessed with this and will do anything to get more of it. There's nothing like that. There's no mental illness like that where there's an external source that's driving it. And obviously
I'd say
it's
OCD, maybe obsessive,
Maybe, yeah.
compulsive. I'm obsessed about clicking a light switch or doing something before I leave the house.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I can't feel comfortable.
Yeah, maybe we can put that in there too. It's wild. Like it feels almost like alien-like to me, where it's just like this sinister thing and it has, for me, the thing that I find really strange about it is that it's external, right? Like, and obviously the pain comes from an internal problem, but that we search for something outside of us to make us feel better that is so incredibly toxic. I haven't really like fully understood why I find it so strange, but I just find it very, very, very odd that it's like this massive problem with the population.
Mm.
And it's just these synthesized drugs that people just go absolutely mental over. And it's like a bad video game. You know what I mean? Like, just it's
Car crash. But it doesn't start off as a bad video game.
no, it's always a problem with me. And well, I should say,
Although my drinking did, actually.
what do you
Yeah.
mean?
My drinking was messy and throwing up and horrible and, not being allowed around a friend's house again. And yet I couldn't wait to pick up a drink again. So, yeah, my first drinking was just a mess. I couldn't wait to do it again, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, my first like the first time I smoked weed, it was like that. I thought I was gonna die the whole time. It was like not what most people would consider a pleasant experience. And the next day I was like, yeah, let's do it again. It's like, what? Dude, what is that? And I think I just wanted to feel different,
I just didn't want to feel, as
Yeah.
best as I got to. I just didn't want to feel.
I felt a lot that night. I was horrified, but it was different. I think that's what it was. It was just a different feeling that I got. And I was sick of the same old feelings, the same old miserable feelings that I was having at the time. And I mean, I think it was that because I also remember being like, I was one of those people that was really angry at the world
Hmm.
and sad about the world because I was really angry and sad about my life. So it was easier to process that than it was to process my own life, you know? I think it might have been something like that where it was like, all right, that's a different kind of pain.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think because I hear that a lot. People have a really bad time their first use and then they're like, I want to do it again. And I'm like, what's going on there? But I think it's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we've been at it quite a
What
while.
time is it?
I don't know. How long have
Let's
we
see.
been at it? But feels like
2:52.
ooh,
It's
feels like a
been
good time to wrap it up.
2
then.
hours.
2 hours. Oh, my
Wow.
pack. Yeah.
How long were we supposed to be here?
I can't remember, but yeah. So yeah, I think we better wrap it up then.
Oh, it's right on time then, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Well done. Thank you, Jess. High five.
High five.
Much.
Great success.
Great success.